As the scrap mechanic community awaits in high anticipation for Survival Mode Chapter 2 to be released, I thought I'd take you through a brief history of all the vehicles that I've built over the past 5 years of my friends and I playing this game. So I'm excited, and there's a lot of memories here. I think you're going to think I'm so cool. So as you can see, I have a whole lineup of creations here, and I'm going to attempt to only look at one thing at a time so that I don't spoil anything for you, because things get pretty cool later on. But let's go ahead and start your guided tour. So this is the first ever thing I remember building in Scrap Mechanic when I first bought the game. This is a little bit of a later version once I figured out some mods just to make things a little easier, but you could tell it's old because of the pre-survival thruster. Let's see, you can aim it with these buttons, obviously. And when you hit this button, it fires, and then it crashes, and then you hit this button, and it explodes. So, pretty neat, I'd say. I also have like a guided salvo version, which I added a couple extra mods that just make it easier to track a player. And there were 5 of them. Oh crap, I have a backup. I'm not worried. I didn't hit that. I remember setting a delay and then taking off in an airplane and watching these start firing from a ways away and come after me, and it was just the coolest thing ever. If you're familiar with other Scrap Mechanic creators, you'll see I took some inspiration from Multiplayer Monday and some other stuff with Khan and Mumbo and Scrapman and stuff like that. I then moved on to other destructive weapons. I made this kind of tank, and it was mostly vanilla, but I have 2 stages here. This one is me figuring out how to do tank steering and driving and stuff like that. And then this one is kind of more fleshed out as far as aesthetics goes. Somewhere in between the 2 of them, they got broken. This one doesn't drive at all. I'm not sure why, but I didn't fix it just to preserve the preserve the history of it. And I guess it's not completely vanilla, because there's these extra polygons and stuff like that, but all the functionality is vanilla. And then I have this kind of cool top hatch that folds away so that you can access the seat. So after I gave up on that tank, I kind of threw together one here that has more mods. It's kind of got some interesting functionality out of this camera block that basically, when I jump in, it allows me to steer or to guide the turret with my camera. It's absolutely horridly ugly, but it's kind of more of a proof of concept for me trying to figure stuff out. So next is something that I thought of while I was doing homework, and I had to try as soon as I possibly could when I was done. And so I hopped on and I started working on this ant. It's not finished. It's actually saved in my lift as ant checkpoint 5. You can see I actually had saved some of the legs back here on the lift as well, so that I didn't have to make so many of them over and over again. So it might not look like much, but it means kind of a lot to me because it was the start of an era. Because one day while I was working on this, my friend Elijah was over, and so I showed him kind of the stuff that I was working on, and I remember showing him this, and that kind of he was so fascinated that kind of turned into him hogging the computer for pretty much the rest of the evening. We stayed up really late and we made this plane, and that turned into him buying the game when he got home. And so I made this plane so that we could dogfight, and I just remember having like the best of times just kind of calling and playing with him. And as you see, like a lot of my stuff is remained unpainted, just because as soon as it was functional, I just wanted to play with it. So that turned into a whole fleet of shapes and sizes of aircraft that we played with together. Most of them made out of cardboard, just so that we could dogfight them and stuff like that. Some of them like actually worked really well, and some of them not really. But this one, this one drops infinite toilet paper. Can you guess what year we thought that would have been useful? After much enjoyment, this cardboard aircraft era kind of came to a close with the release of Survival Mode, as you can see with the introduction of some new lightweight blocks here. So we spent a good bit of time just playing Survival Mode, and didn't really touch creative for a while, but with the high cost and low efficiency of thrusters, And, you know, just that requirement for building boats, we kind of came back to creative to try our hand at the building and racing boats, as you can see here with the McScuttle and the USS Capsize. Around this time, another friend, Kent, started playing with me, and we kind of got involved in all sorts of shenanigans involving bathtubs and stuff like that. And as always, we had just the best of times. It was so much fun. And then there were a few other creations that I remember doing, although I don't really remember when. Like, for instance, this RC car from Toy Story, and this tractor, and whatever the heck this thing is. These next three creations are in the camp that I would actually say I'm proud of. Creations that at the time I felt like they were worthy of uploading to the Steam Workshop. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time with each one just because I think they're really cool, and I think that you should think that they're cool too. This is a transformer of sorts. It's an ice cream van that can transform into a plane. While lacking in some van mode detail, this is someone licking an ice cream cone, if you couldn't tell. I think the unfolding animation is quite satisfying, and it flies really well according to Scrap Mechanic standards, of course. But I may have to make a Mark II to kind of revamp this and make it look better on this channel, maybe. I always thought it was so cool to like accidentally drive off a cliff, but then miraculously swoop up in flight form. Of course, saving the precious cargo. And then I modeled this jet off of a Russian fighter called the MiG-21, and I think it's my all-time favorite creation. This is unbelievably fun to fly. It's super responsive and goes just the right speed, although it's a little too fast for spud guns because you end up outrunning your shots and hitting yourself. And plus it's got like pretty sweet looking landing gear that does its job really well, so I hope that you can recognize what this is. It's an X-Wing from Star Wars, and it also flies with some issues, but it looks really cool, especially when the foils are open and in attack position. By the way, these three favorites were creations that I built solo, so some of them maybe could have fit a little earlier in the timeline, but they made more sense to kind of put them all together here. And then this next thing is a goal that I have yet to complete, and I'm not sure is actually possible in Scrap Mechanic. But I wanted to make a fully realistic helicopter with one main rotor and without stabilizers or thrusters. And I'd seen people do like double rotor ones to make counter torque easier to handle, but I wanted to make mine like calibrated to work like on its own. And so that kind of came with a lot of testing and prototyping, like this model here in the back. But you always run into problems at high speeds in this game. So actually, I learned a whole lot about how helicopters work because of this project. I did a lot of research and stuff like that. So, I mean, I would say this game is really educating. And then this is a Bobcat or skid steer, depending on what you want to call it. It's another one of those plan it all out in your head when you should be doing homework kind of a build. But it works pretty well. It works as intended, but I never really had a specific use for it. So it was fun. It was fun to build though. So there's kind of a long pause between these two builds, but a couple months ago, I actually took another crack at making a tank while I was streaming. It's a Russian T-34-85 tank from World War II, and it handles pretty well, and it has a camera controlled turret. But I think I'll still need to tweak some things to make it better. And then I just kind of slapped a modded cannon on the end of the barrel, and it seems to kind of function like a normal tank around wood, but it's fun to deal with friends. Okay, and I guess last, but honestly probably not least, we have this nice line maker that helped me make this video. It made this long line that I didn't have to work on. I actually think it would kind of be cool to use this concept to make like a railroad or a monorail or something in survival, but I'm sure people have done it before, but I haven't really tried it, so. I actually haven't played much at all recently because I was trying to save up my excitement for the survival update, but if it's gonna be a while, I mean, I'm definitely gonna have to play for a little bit here and there. Maybe chapter 2 will come out in time for me to like play with my kids. But the first of which still has 2 months of growing to do before being born. But now that I've started this YouTube expedition, I'm excited to get back into Scrap Mechanic and make some cool stuff with you guys. Also, I hope to start like a multiplayer survival series with my wife and some friends when Chapter 2 finally actually does come out. But for now, this channel is all about survival and sandbox games. So feel free to check out my channel trailer and some of my other videos. If you enjoy this video, please just kind of let me know. I'd love to get some feedback. But if you really enjoy this video, you're welcome to come join my Discord server and come hang out with me and my community there. But the links are where they always are, and I hope that you have a great day. Stuck in the thing. I need help. Please help me. Please help me. Please help.